So let's get started with our first project. So we're going to make a little LED blink. So this is the equivalent in programming of a Hello World experiment, where you're basically making your first foray or exploration into physical computing, controlling things with a computer. So this picture shows how we're going to do it. So on the left, you're seeing a diagram, the different parts of the Raspberry Pi, the LED, and this thing called a resistor, which are all connected. So the resistor is like a controller for electricity, a traffic controller. So it makes sure that the LED doesn't get too much power, which is a bad thing. So you would fry the LED and it wouldn't work. So on the right is a picture of what the actual setup is going to look like on something called a breadboard. And a breadboard helps us connect the electronic parts together, so without needing to actually physically glue them to the circuit, which is called soldering. So we're going to be using something called LED GPIO pins on the Raspberry Pi. You can think of the pins as like little doorways that allow the Raspberry Pi to send and receive signals. And we're going to learn how to tell a Raspberry Pi to send electricity to the LED through one of these GPIO pins. And then it'll make it light up. So then we're going to tell it to stop sending electricity to the LED, and that will make it go off. So doing this repeatedly, it's going to make the LED blink, right? So it's in the end, it's kind of just looks like it's from the outside, like it's like magic we're doing, but it's just electronics under the hood that's going on, and a little bit of coding, which we're going to explore further in these next steps. All right, guys, this is the second part of the simple LED project with Raspberry Pi. We're going to blink an LED today, so we're going to do that using Python programming. Some of you may already be very familiar with Python programming, but others, you might be new to it. So I'm going to take a little bit slow as far as that goes. So the first step is that we're going to program using Thonny, which comes already installed on Raspberry Pi. So we're going to open that up. And this is where we're going to write our programs. You could, of course, do it a different way and using something else besides Thonny to write the program. But here we're going to do it this way. So the first thing you do when you're writing any Python program is you import libraries. So we're going to import which library? The Raspberry Pi big R, big P, small I .gpio, because we want to interact with those GPIO pins to control the LED. So we're going to call that GPIO. So every time we refer to that library, we're going to call it just GPIO. Now the next thing is we're going to import time library, because we want to add a delay between the number of times that we're going to interact with the LED outputs, rather than just keep sending signals to it, which will cause things to not work so well. So you'll see that a little more in a second. And this is where it gets really specific to this library, is you have to know how to set the board numbering. So how do you set the board numbering is you got to set the mode, and you do that. So we're going to write what I'm doing right now is setting an annotation, this hash, and this line will not be read. It's just a note. So we're going to set the mode, right? And we're going to do that, now you refer to it as GPIO set mode. Set mode out board, okay? And now something to be just aware of is that we could have written BCM here, and that refers to the BCM numbering system. So when I'm writing board, I'm just telling Raspberry Pi that I'm using these numbers from 1 to 40 on the GPIO pin. So when we say number 1, we mean number 1 on the board numbering system. So really what I'm saying is the breadboard numbering system, okay? So just remember that for other projects, they might want to use BCM, or you might want to use BCM. Okay, so the next step is we want to decide what pins we're using. So set up the pins. So how do we know what to do here? Well, first you have to just understand in front of you, if you saw the first video, you probably have a setup or a schematic that tells you, what pins you're using. Here we know it's pretty simple. We're only using one pin, really, is the GPIO pin 11. That's where the red wire is hooked up to. It's hooked up to 11, so we know that we should write here, setup pin 11. You specify the pin first. That's the first argument for this function called setup. And then you say GPIO out, because we're sending a signal from Raspberry Pi out to the pin, and which will turn on the LED. Okay, so the next is, if I did that correctly, is we're gonna turn on the LED. That's the most exciting part. And how do you do that? Well, you might not be surprised. We're gonna write GPIO again. And we're gonna write here the pin number again. Okay, the pin number comes first again, and then we're gonna say true, which just means turn it on. Okay, then what next? You want to add a time delay. This is where that time comes in. We're going to use the function called sleep to have it wait before sending another command to the output pin, and we're going to say wait for 2 seconds before sending another command to the pin. All right, and then what do we do? Most important step, people mess up here all the time, is cleanup. Okay, so cleanup is exit the pins, right? So it just basically cleans it up for the next cycle of this program so that it doesn't get locked when you try to turn it on again, and it won't work. It will throw you an error, or it'll work, but it will not behave as you expect. Okay, so let's see if we did things right. There's probably mistakes, but that's okay. That's kind of the fun of it. We're just gonna see what's gonna happen. So you just hit run. Okay, we made a mistake. What's this? It says trace back. Now it's telling me the line 15. If you actually click on the line here in Thonny, if that's your Python program editor, it'll highlight that line. Like it'll go to that line where the error is. Now I know that it's actually line 15, and there's something I did wrong here. What did I do wrong here? I didn't. GPIO, that's the library name. This is a typo. What's output? It's output. Yeah, that was probably the problem. So let's just run it again. We don't have to do anything else. All right, that was the problem. You should see the LEDs kind of lighting up now, and it's off. Let's just do that again. All right. Now, like when I first did this, I was pretty excited because I had never controlled anything like that using programming only. But that's pretty exciting. If this is your first time, I'm sure you're feeling that. That's pretty exciting. You just want to see what's next. We should just keep building, really, to get a feel for it. So here, from the programming side, it's kind of just, it becomes very simple to just build on it. You just can tell it on again. So if we want to blink, we just really have to tell it the same thing again. Of course, we can do this as a program and make it more refined. For those of you that know Python, we could write a loop and tell it to just repeat rather than just copy paste, which you normally wouldn't do. But here, I think for this exercise, it doesn't really matter so much. So we can just say false. That means off, right? So turn on, turn off one time, turn everything off, right? So that's like one cycle. If we copy everything again, then what will happen? It's gonna turn on, turn off, wait 2 seconds between each, then turn on, turn off again. At least that's what we expect. Let's see. So let's have eyes on the LED and let's start the program. On, off, 1, 2, on, 1, 2, off. Alright guys, so that was it. That's our first mini project for controlling the LED through Python programming with the Raspberry Pi. I hope you guys enjoyed that and you were able to learn something new, or if not, get some ideas for something you might do next.